Before making the transition from clean flight or betaflight to INav, let's just take a backup of all the CLI codes that is being flashed into our flight controller right now, so that in case if we had to go back and revisit clean flight or betaflight, we'll have the codes in hand which we can just save it into the flight controller and use them. To do this, click connect. Go to CLI, type dump, 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 enter. Now let's select all and then copy it. In all this text we can save it to notepad or a text format. .txt. Just click on save to file and type exit exit to exit from the CLI command. Suppose if you want to go back to clean flight or betaflight from INav, all you need to do is repeat the same procedure. Go back to CLI command, copy all the text back again, and then paste it in the CLI command. Press enter, enter. Save, save, press enter. Alright, now we know how to go back and forth. Let's get started with INav. The very first thing is firmware flasher. Let's flash the firmware to our flight controller. Let's choose the board. Here I'm using SPF3, so I'll choose the board as Series 2 Pro Racing F3. And, let me select the latest stable version of it. Now to flash this firmware to my flight controller, let me load the firmware online. And these are the details of the latest stable version available. You can scroll down. Now to flash this firmware, click on flash firmware. It says no response from the bootloader, programming failed. So let's scroll back up and uncheck those two options, reboot sequence and full flash. Now once again when we try to flash the firmware, the same error appears, no response from the bootloader. So let's go back. Here we can see two options here, STM USB PCB drivers and ZADIC. Try downloading them and installing both of these. Despite installing these two, if the error still persists, then I'll just walk you through the other step wherein we need to boot the flight controller using GUI. This is my Seriously Pro F3 flight controller in my quadcopter. As you can see, I've already unbricked this flight controller. All the LEDs are flashing like yellow. This is a typical bricked flight controller wherein blue light completely glows. Now to unbrick the flight controller, we'll need to download the GUI. So type as shown on the screen and select the first link, STM32 flash downloader. Here, get software, click on get software, download, accept the license agreement. Here type in your details, your first name, last name, email address, and check the terms and conditions and click on download. Here, after clicking the download button, to the given mail ID, you will be receiving a download link. Click on the link, download the software and get it installed. Now to open the software, go to the search bar, type Demonstrator GUI and open it. So this is how the interface looks like. Here the port in this GUI and the port in CleanFlight or INav or betaflight needs to match. It should be the same. Now coming back to the baud rate, the baud rate varies from flight controller to flight controller. So you will have to check your user manual of the flight controller to set the value. For example, here for SP-F3 it's 256,000. For Skyline 32, the baud rate is 115,200. We'll have to download the .x files. To do that, let's go to google.com, then type INav releases, and then select the first link which says release INav flight. It's basically from github.com. So you can just open that. Here you will find the INav.x files for different flight controllers. If you can scroll down, you'll get different .x files. This is for clean flight. Similarly, we'll have it for betaflight, and this is for INav. So we are interested in INav right now. So these are the three .x files which I have downloaded. One is for INav, one is for clean flight. For clean flight I have downloaded those. One is for NAS flight controller and one more is for SP F3 flight controller. We are interested only in INav.x files. Suppose if you want to boot or unbrick using clean flight, you will have to use clean flight or betaflight respectively. Now that our software is ready, let's go to the hardware part. These pins and connectors I have received along with my flight controller as accessories. We'll use the same to boot our flight controller. Connect these wires and pins as shown in the image. We'll be using this to unbrick our flight controller or install the firmware that we have downloaded, which is .x files, into our flight controller. Now let's insert the pin into the boot slots. The position of these boot slots will vary from flight controller to flight controller. You will have to look for the word VOOT boot. This is my Skyline 32 flight controller. Similarly, I'll show you where the boot slot is for SP-F3 flight controller. The dark blue wire shows the location of the boot slot. Now that you have shorted the flight controller using the boot slots, connect the flight controller to the USB port and open Demonstrator GUI. When you open the Demonstrator GUI, it will appear as on the screen. Here the port name will be usually COM3 or COM4. Using the drop down arrow, you can select it as same as the port name it shows in INav. Using the drop down arrow, you can change the baud rate according to your flight controller. Then click on next. Now you will have to select the downloaded .hex file in the download to device tab. Click on the three dots option available there. Only for demonstration, quick demonstration, I'm flashing the cleanflight.2.5.NAS firmware, but you will be flashing INav instead of cleanflight. You can keep all other options in Demonstrator GUI as default. Do not change anything. Just keep clicking on next. Let's wait for 100% completion. Now let's unplug the blue wire from the flight controller. Now you can click on close. Now unplug the USB port from the flight controller and replug it. When you replug the USB port, you can see the color LEDs flashing on the flight controller. Previously, when it was bricked, we used to observe only solid blue. Now the other colors are flashing in the flight controller. Let's open the INav user interface now. Here the port name COM4 should be as same as the one which we used in Demonstrator GUI. Click on connect now. As you can see,
INav firmware has been successfully flashed onto our flight controller.